All right, it's time to SPSS. We're going to be in the Blackboard and looking at the course material under correlation and find the MSLQ data for a correlation study. Okay, when you open the spreadsheet, you'll get this data table, and this is pretty typical of what your data might look like for something. This data is capable of doing a bunch of different things. We're going to be focusing on correlation today, but you can see there's groups for group studies. Looks like they're all group 1 and 2. Grade levels, which teacher they had, what class they were in, what gender they best associate with, and then the actual values for the test scales, which is what we're going to be working with today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the data, I'm going to copy out just the numbers. Remember, we're not going to take the headers with this. You can see those blanks there as we go by, as we're pulling the data. That is where those, on the last video, 127 versus 130 came from. Okay. We'll copy, and we'll go over to SPSS, and we'll paste it in. There we go. Now remember, we have to label variables, and we do the labeling of variables on the variable view down at the bottom. I'm going to put these are all interval level data because they're scores on the test or scores in the subtest, and I'm going to label them. I made a note before I started. Okay, and now you can see all my data points or labels are put in, so I can go back to the data value. As a reminder from last time, it's great to run descriptive statistics first so we have a good sense. Go analyze, descriptive, do the frequencies. Again, you can do the descriptives, but it doesn't look as pretty in the tables. Move all the values over. Select the statistics you want to do. I'm going to do quartile, mean, standard D, min, max, skew, and kurtosis. And let's run it. Don't forget, unclick the display frequency table before you start. It gives you a lot of extra information you're not going to need. It's not going to hurt if you get it, but maybe it does hurt because you got to sort through it later. And there she is. All of the data associated with that test information we started with. We can see means, standard deviation. This is important to provide for any set of data, so the reader and you have a good sense of what is going on. If I wanted to make box and whisker plots, I certainly could do that as well. But we're going to go to the correlation. We're going to do the intrinsic versus the extrinsic, which is column 1 and column 2. That was the first one I did in the last. So we're going to go analyze, drop down to correlate, and we're going to correlate bivariate. Click on bivariate. And let's move the two variables. I want intrinsic and extrinsic. So that's what I did in the last video. And then we're here to go. So we hit OK. There's no other options we need to worry about. And there is the correlation table. Now, if you recall from last time, we have intrinsic. We know that's a perfect correlation because it's the same data compared to itself. Here's intrinsic versus extrinsic. And we can see on this data set, we've got statistical significance because we're less than 0.05. And there were 128 comparisons made, and there's the correlation relationship, 0.31. You can always go back to the rules of thumb to see what that means. And for me, the 0.31, it was a positive value, so we have a low positive correlation. So it's a statistically significant low positive correlation. Pretty straightforward test to run. Let's run another one. And we'll pull back our data view. We'll go to Analyze, Correlate, Bivariate. And the second one in my demonstration was self-efficacy versus test anxiety. So we'll reset. Self-efficacy versus test anxiety. We'll move that one over. We'll hit OK. By the way, if you recall, we already did the descriptive, so we have them already. And here we go, self-efficacy versus test anxiety. It's in two places, here and here. We've got a negative 0.44. So negative 0.44 is a negative correlation. It is statistically significant. If you want to know what negative 0.44 is, come back to to the rules, negative 0.44. That's in that same bucket too. So low negative correlation. The other thing I wanted to show on this was how to do the intercorrelation matrix. So we're back here with the data. We'll go to Analyze, Correlate, Bivariate, and we're going to put everything in this time. Put all the variables in. Now, I actually, setting up in the last, to do the last video, I actually learned something new. This one to this one. There's actually a button that says show only the lower triangle, which helps clean up your presentation a little bit. So if you click show only the lower triangle and run that, here it is, the intercorrelation matrix for all of the variables. And for each relationship, the perfect, of course, is on the diagonal. But then you can see the statistically significance when you have the p-value here. And here's an example of a p-value that's not statistically significant. Control of learning compared to test anxiety, above 0.05. There's lots of other stuff that's below 0.05, but there are some things that are not. Here's one at 0.161. Task value compared to test anxiety, not statistically significant. So you can see the ones that are and are not, and also you get the cleanup of the data by just showing the lower triangle. Hope this is a great way for you to figure out how to do the correlations using SPSS.